The gold ring caught the lamplight as Eliza Hartwell held it over the pawnbroker's counter, her hand trembling. It was the last thing her mother had given her before the fever took her. A delicate band with a tiny sapphire, worth maybe enough for 3 nights' lodging and a few meals. The pawnbroker's greedy eyes assessed it like a vulture eyeing carrion. $2, he said flatly. Eliza's stomach twisted. $2 wouldn't even get her through the week. She'd been walking for 3 days since fleeing her stepfather's ranch in Kansas, her feet blistered bloody in boots 2 sizes too small. The bruises on her ribs from his last beating had barely started to yellow. She had nowhere to go, no skills except cooking and cleaning, and winter was coming to Montana territory like a wolf closing in for the kill. Before you continue with Eliza's journey, I'd love to ask you for a small favor. If you're enjoying this story, please take a moment to subscribe to the From Wild West channel and hit that like button. It truly means the world to us and helps us bring you more quality content like this. Your support keeps these stories alive. Thank you so much. I'll give you something better than $2. The voice came from behind her, deep, measured, with the kind of authority that made men straighten their spines. Eliza turned to find a man filling the doorway of the cramped shop. He was tall, broad-shouldered beneath a worn leather duster, with dark hair that curled slightly at his collar, and eyes the color of winter sage. A scar cut through his left eyebrow, giving him a dangerous look, softened only by the gentleness in his gaze. "This lady isn't selling," he said to the pawnbroker, then looked at Eliza. "Are you hungry?" She nodded before pride could stop her. "Then keep your ring. Come with me." Eliza hesitated. She'd learned not to trust men who offered help without naming their price. But something in his eyes, a kind of weary honesty, made her follow him out into the dusty street of Timber Creek. "Name's Cole Brennan," he said, tipping his hat. "I own the Double B Ranch about 5 miles north. Lost my housekeeper 2 weeks ago, when she married the blacksmith. I need someone who can cook, clean, and won't steal me blind. You need work and a safe place. Seems like we can help each other." "I won't be your—" Eliza started, her voice sharper than intended. "Wouldn't ask," Cole interrupted gently. "You'd have your own room in the main house, door with a lock. $30 a month, plus room and board. You work, I pay. That's all." Eliza studied his face, searching for the lie, the trap. She found none. "Why?" Cole's jaw tightened. "Because I've got a younger sister somewhere out there. I hope to God if she's in trouble, some decent person helps her too." That night, Eliza learned that the Double B Ranch was no small operation. Cole ran 3,000 head of cattle with the help of 5 ranch hands, who bunked in a separate building. The main house was solid timber, 2 stories, with a stone fireplace that dominated the living area. It was simple but well-maintained, the home of a man who took pride in his work. Her room was small but clean, with a real bed, a washstand, and, as promised, a lock on the door. Eliza locked it that first night and cried into the pillow, releasing 3 years of fear she hadn't known she'd been holding. The work was hard, but honest. She rose before dawn to make breakfast for Cole and the ranch hands. Biscuits, bacon, strong coffee that could strip paint. Cole ate in silence mostly, but he always thanked her, always met her eyes with respect. He never asked about her past, never stood too close, never made her feel like payment was expected beyond the work itself. The ranch hands, gruff men with sun-weathered faces, treated her like a sister after Cole made it clear that disrespect wouldn't be tolerated. She overheard him telling them the first week, She's not property, she's a person. Anyone who forgets that can collect their pay and ride out. Slowly, Eliza began to breathe again. Weeks passed. The Montana autumn painted the landscape in golds and crimsons. Eliza learned the rhythm of ranch life, the early mornings, the smell of hay and livestock, the vast silence of the prairie, broken only by wind and bird song. She learned that Cole was a fair boss, quick to laugh with his men, but capable of granite hardness when a cattle buyer tried to cheat him. She also learned he was haunted. Sometimes she'd wake in the night and see lamplight under his study door, hear him pacing. Once, she found a daguerreotype on his desk, a young woman with Cole's eyes, smiling. His sister, she assumed. The one he'd mentioned. The one he was still searching for. One evening, as she cleaned up after supper, Cole appeared in the kitchen doorway. "You ride?" "Not well," Eliza admitted. "I'll teach you. Can't live on a ranch and not know how to handle a horse." The lesson started the next day. Cole was patient, his large hands steadying hers on the reins, his voice calm as he taught her to read the horse's body language. "Feel her breathing," he said, standing close enough that Eliza could smell leather and sage on him. "You're partners, not master and slave. She'll take care of you if you take care of her." Eliza named her horse Juniper, after the twisted trees that dotted the property. Learning to ride gave her a freedom she'd never known, the ability to move fast, to escape if she needed to. Cole seemed to understand this without her saying it. "You're not trapped here," he told her one afternoon as they walked the horses back to the barn. "You can leave whenever you want, but I hope you'll stay." Why? It was becoming her favorite question around him. Cole stopped, turning to face her fully. The setting sun lit his face in orange and shadow. "Because you make this place feel like a home instead of just a house. Because you hum when you think no one's listening. Because I see a woman worth knowing, and those are rarer than gold." Eliza's breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her like that, like she was something valuable beyond her usefulness. She didn't know what to say, so she said nothing. But something shifted between them that day, like the first crack in winter ice. Winter came hard and early. By November, snow drifted 3 feet deep, and the temperature dropped until the water in the barn troughs froze solid overnight. The ranch hands moved into the main house during the worst of it, sleeping in the extra rooms upstairs, while Eliza cooked enough food to feed an army. Cole worked himself nearly to death, keeping the cattle alive, riding out before dawn to break ice and scatter hay. He came back each evening exhausted, his face red from windburn, his hands cracked and bleeding despite the heavy gloves. One night he stumbled in long after dark, his face gray beneath the stubble. He made it 3 steps into the kitchen before his knees buckled. Eliza caught him, or tried to. He was too heavy, and they both went down in a heap. "Cole, what happened?" "Nothing, just tired." But his voice was thin, his breathing shallow. She got him to the sofa somehow, her heart hammering. She'd seen this before, her mother, before the end. Fever. She pressed her hand to his forehead and jerked back at the heat radiating from his skin. "You're burning up. How long have you been sick?" "Few days, it's nothing." "It's not nothing, you stubborn fool." Fear made her angry. She just found something good, something safe. She couldn't lose it, couldn't lose him. She spent the night sponging him with cool water, forcing willow bark tea down his throat. Monitoring his breathing, his fever climbed higher. He thrashed, mumbling names she didn't recognize. His sister's, she thought, and another. A woman's name. Sarah. Sarah, I'm sorry, he whispered, his voice breaking. I couldn't save you. Eliza's chest tightened. She understood ghosts. She had her own. Around 3 a.m, Cole's eyes opened, clear for the first time in hours. He looked at her sitting beside him, her hair disheveled, her dress damp from the water basin. You should rest, he rasped. So should you. Eliza. He caught her hand. His palm was burning hot, but his grip was gentle. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You're not better. Not for this. For being here, for staying, for caring. Something in his eyes, a raw vulnerability, made her throat close up. I'm not going anywhere. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. Promise? I promise. He fell asleep holding her hand. Eliza stayed there, watching the rise and fall of his chest, until dawn painted the windows gray. The fever broke 2 days later. Cole was weak, but recovering, and Eliza was exhausted, but relieved. The ranch hands had managed the work, and the worst of the storm had passed. Everything should have been fine. But on the 3rd day after Cole's fever broke, a rider appeared at the ranch. Eliza was in the kitchen when she heard the commotion. Raised voices, Cole's sharp and angry. She wiped her hands and stepped into the main room to find a man she hoped never to see again. Vernon Hartwell, her stepfather. He was a big man, gone to fat and middle age, with mean little eyes and a mouth that curved naturally into a sneer. He looked around the ranch house like he was appraising it for purchase. There you are, girl, he said when he spotted Eliza. Had me worried sick. Come on, we're going home. This is her home, Cole said. He'd positioned himself between them, and despite his recent illness, he looked immovable. And you're trespassing. Vernon's laugh was ugly. She's my daughter, bought and paid for when I married her mama. Got papers to prove it. She's coming with me. I'm not your daughter, Eliza said, her voice steadier than she felt. And I'm not going anywhere with you. Vernon's face darkened. You ungrateful little... Finish that sentence, Cole said quietly, and you'll be picking your teeth up off my floor. The 2 men stared at each other. The air crackled with violence barely contained. You want her that bad? You can buy her, Vernon finally said. $500 and she's yours. That's what she owes me for 3 years of room and board. Eliza's stomach turned. Buy her? Like livestock. Cole's jaw worked. You've got 10 seconds to get off my property before I throw you off. Vernon spat on the floor. I'll be back with the sheriff. She's stolen property, and you're harboring her. The law's on my side. He pointed at Eliza. You're coming home, girl, one way or another. After he left, Eliza couldn't stop shaking. Cole guided her to a chair, knelt in front of her. Look at me. Eliza, look at me. She did. His eyes were fierce. I'll die before I let him take you. Do you understand? You're not property. You're not going back there. He's right about the law, Eliza whispered. In Kansas, stepdaughters are legally. We're not in Kansas. We're in Montana territory. And even if we were, I don't give a damn what the law says. You're staying here. Cole, he'll come back. He'll bring men. Let him try. But Cole was recovering from illness, and Vernon Hartwell was vindictive. Eliza couldn't let Cole risk everything for her. That night, after the house went quiet, she packed her few belongings. She'd leave before dawn, head north toward the Canadian border. It would break her heart, but it would keep Cole safe. She was halfway down the stairs when she heard it. Raised voices from the front yard. Male voices, drunk and aggressive. She rushed to the window. 6 men on horseback, Vernon among them. They carried torches. "Brennan!" Vernon shouted. "Send the girl out, or we burn you out." Eliza's blood went cold. She ran for Cole's room, burst through the door. He was already awake, pulling on his boots, his face grim. "Don't go out there," she begged. "Please, I'll go with him. Just don't." Cole cupped her face in his hands. "Listen to me. You are not going with him. I am not letting you go. We're going to handle this together. Understand?" "Together," she whispered. He kissed her forehead, brief and fierce. Together. They went downstairs. The ranch hands were already gathering, armed and stone-faced. Cole loaded his rifle with practiced efficiency. "There's 6 of them," one of the hands said, "and they're liquored up. Then we'd better be smarter." Cole looked at Eliza. "I need you to do something for me. Can you handle a rifle?" "I don't know, I've never—" "I'll teach you, right now." What followed was the most terrifying 10 minutes of Eliza's life. Cole showed her how to load, aim, brace for the kick. "You probably won't need it," he said, "but if someone gets past me, you shoot for center mass. Don't hesitate." Then he did something that made her heart stop. He walked out onto the porch alone, his rifle loose in his hands, and faced Vernon's mob. "You've got 5 seconds to leave," Cole said calmly, "or I start shooting." Vernon laughed. 6 against 1? You can't!" The rifle shot cracked like thunder. Vernon's torch exploded in his hand, showering sparks. The horses screamed and shied. 4 seconds, Cole said. "You're insane!" 3. The ranch hands appeared from the barn, the bunkhouse, armed and positioned. Not 6 against 1 anymore. 6 against 10. 2. Vernon's companions were already backing their horses. These weren't gunfighters. They were drunk ranch hands and saloon loafers. Facing armed, sober men sobered them up fast. "This isn't over," Vernon spat. "Yeah, it is." Cole's voice could have cut glass. "You come back here, you're a dead man. Eliza stays. That's the end of it." Vernon yanked his horse around and rode off, his followers scattering like leaves. Eliza's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the porch steps, shaking so badly her teeth chattered. Cole sat beside her, set the rifle carefully aside, and pulled her against his chest. "It's over," he murmured into her hair. "You're safe. I've got you." She fisted her hands in his shirt and held on like he was the only solid thing in the world. They sat there as the false dawn painted the sky gray, as the adrenaline slowly drained away, as the world rearranged itself around this new truth. They'd chosen each other, and damn the consequences. Finally, Cole pulled back enough to look at her. "I need to tell you something." Eliza waited, her heart still hammering. "A year ago, I was engaged. Her name was Sarah. She was perfect on paper. Good family, good manners, everything right. But she didn't love me, not really. She loved the ranch, the security. When I realized that, I broke it off. She was furious. Told me I'd die alone because I was too particular, too demanding." He touched Eliza's face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Then you walked into that pawn shop, trying to sell your last precious thing to survive. And I saw someone with more courage in her little finger than Sarah had in her whole body. Someone real. Someone who makes me want to be better than I am. Cole, I'm in love with you, Eliza. Have been since you told Vernon you weren't going anywhere. Maybe before. And I know it's fast, and I know you might not feel the same. But I needed you to know. You deserve to know. Eliza felt tears streaming down her face, but for once they weren't from fear or pain. I thought you were testing me, she whispered. Cole frowned. What? Last week, when you came in acting drunk, stumbling around, slurring your words. I thought you were testing me, seeing if I'd steal from you or abandon you or… She laughed wetly. You weren't, were you? I had 3 whiskeys at the saloon celebrating a cattle sale. I'm a lightweight. I wasn't testing anything. I sat up all night making sure you didn't choke. I made you drink water. I was so scared you'd think less of me if I didn't take proper care of ye. Cole stared at her, then started laughing. You thought I was pretending to be drunk to test your character? It's exactly something a careful man would do. He pulled her close again, still chuckling. Eliza Hartwell, I have never in my life pretended to be drunk. What you did, sitting up with me, taking care of me, you did that because of who you are, not because of some test. She pulled back, meeting his eyes. I love you too. I think I started falling for you when you told that pawnbroker I wasn't selling, when you offered me work instead of charity, when you gave me my dignity back. This time when Cole kissed her, it wasn't on the forehead. It was soft, questioning, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. She kissed him back, pouring everything she couldn't say into it, gratitude and hope and a future she'd stopped believing in. When they finally broke apart, the sun was rising over the mountains, painting the snow in shades of pink and gold. Marry me, Cole said. Not because you owe me, not because you need protection, but because we're better together than apart. Yes, Eliza said. Yes, together. The wedding was set for 2 weeks later, but those 14 days felt like an eternity and an instant all at once. Eliza spent her days preparing, sewing her wedding dress by lamplight after the household had gone to sleep. She chose a simple design, cream-colored cotton with delicate lace at the collar and cuffs that she'd carefully removed from her mother's old Sunday dress. Every stitch was a prayer, every seam a promise. Cole, meanwhile, threw himself into ranch work with renewed vigor, though Eliza noticed him watching her when he thought she wasn't looking. His eyes would soften, and a small smile would play at the corners of his mouth, as if he couldn't quite believe his good fortune. The night before the wedding, Eliza couldn't sleep. She sat by her window, watching the moonlight paint silver across the snow-covered fields, and allowed herself to feel the enormity of what was about to happen. Tomorrow, she would become Mrs. Cole Brennan. Tomorrow, her life would change forever. Not because she was trading one form of ownership for another, but because she was choosing love. A soft knock at her door made her jump. Eliza, you awake? Cole's voice. She opened the door to find him standing there in his nightshirt and trousers, hair disheveled, looking uncertain. Couldn't sleep either, he admitted. Kept thinking about tomorrow, about you. He reached out, then hesitated. Can I hold your hand? Just for a minute. She gave him both hands. He held them gently, his thumbs tracing circles on her palms. I want you to know something, Cole said quietly. Tomorrow, when we say those vows, I mean every word, for better or worse, in sickness and health, all of it. You're not just getting a husband, Eliza. You're getting a partner, someone who'll stand beside you, not in front of you or behind you, beside you. Tears pricked her eyes. I know, that's why I said yes. He lifted her hands to his lips, kissing each knuckle with reverent care. Get some sleep, Mrs. Brennan to be. Tomorrow's gonna be the best day of our lives. The wedding day dawned clear and cold, with a sky so blue it hurt to look at. The small church in Timber Creek was packed, not just with ranch hands and townsfolk, but with people Eliza had never met who'd heard about the woman Cole Brennan was marrying and wanted to show their support. As Eliza walked down the aisle on the arm of Tom, the eldest ranch hand who'd volunteered for the honor, she saw Cole waiting at the altar. He wore his best suit, the one with the silver buttons that caught the light streaming through the stained glass windows. But it was his face that took her breath away. The raw emotion there, the love and pride and barely contained joy. When Tom placed her hand in Cole's, she felt the slight tremor in his fingers. This strong, steady man was nervous. The realization made her love him even more. The preacher began the ceremony, his voice rich and warm. The words washed over Eliza like a benediction. When it came time for I promise to trust you with my heart, even though it's been broken before. I promise to stand beside you in all things, to be your partner in joy and in sorrow. I promise to love you with courage, because loving takes courage. From this day forward, we walk together. When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Cole cupped Eliza's face in his hands with infinite tenderness. "Hello, Mrs. Brennan," he whispered. "Hello, Mr. Brennan," she whispered back. The kiss was soft and sweet and full of promise. The small congregation erupted in cheers and applause. The preacher's wife openly wept. Tom and the other ranch hands whooped and hollered like they were at a rodeo. The celebration afterward was simple but joyful. The church ladies had prepared a feast: roasted chicken, potatoes, fresh bread, and 3 different kinds of pie. Someone brought out a fiddle, and soon people were dancing in the church hall. Cole swept Eliza into his arms for their first dance as husband and wife, and she laughed as he spun her, her cream-colored dress swirling around her ankles. "You're beautiful when you laugh," Cole said, pulling her close. "I want to make you laugh every day for the rest of our lives." "That's a tall order, Mr. Brennan. I'm up for the challenge." As the sun began to set, they made their way back to the ranch. The ride home was quiet, peaceful, with Eliza tucked against Cole's side in the wagon, wrapped in blankets against the cold. The stars were just beginning to appear, scattered across the darkening sky like diamonds. That night, in the room that was now theirs, not his or hers, but theirs, Cole was gentle, patient, reverent. He lit candles that cast warm, flickering light across the walls. He helped her with the tiny buttons on her dress, his fingers careful and slow, giving her time to stop him if she wanted. She didn't want to stop him. But when the moment came, old fears surfaced. Her stepfather's violence, the way he'd made her feel small and broken and worthless, it all came flooding back. "Go slow," she whispered, her voice tight. "It hurts." "There's no rush, Eliza. We have all the time in the world." But nothing. You're trembling, sweetheart. The last thing I want is for you to be scared of me." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. "Let me just hold you tonight. Let me show you that you're safe." The tears came then, hot and overwhelming. Cole held her as she cried, stroking her hair, murmuring soft words of comfort. He kissed her tears away and told her she was brave, she was strong. She was loved beyond measure. Eventually, they lay down together, Eliza curled against Cole's chest, his arms wrapped securely around her. She could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong, and slowly her breathing matched his. "Thank you," she whispered into the darkness. "For what?" "For being patient, for being kind, for being you." Cole's arms tightened around her. "Thank you for trusting me. I know it's not easy." She fell asleep in his arms, safe for the first time in her life. The weeks that followed were a lesson in patience and trust. Cole never pushed, never demanded. Some nights they talked until the candles burned down to stubs. Other nights they simply held each other. Slowly, gradually, Eliza's fear began to fade, replaced by a growing desire that surprised her with its intensity. One night, about a month after the wedding, she was the one who reached for him. Cole responded with such tender reverence that she cried again, but this time from joy, from the overwhelming rightness of being loved this way. Afterward, as they lay tangled together in the moonlight streaming through the window, Cole traced lazy patterns on her shoulder. "You okay?" "More than okay." She turned to face him, studying his face in the silvery light. "I never knew it could be like this. Gentle, beautiful. It should always be like this." He kissed her softly. "You deserve beautiful, Eliza." "So do you." They fell asleep, smiling. Vernon Hartwell never came back. Word spread through Montana Territory about the showdown at the Double B Ranch, about how Cole Brennan had faced down a mob for his woman. Folks in Timber Creek had strong opinions about men who treated their stepdaughters like property, and Vernon found the territory less hospitable than he'd hoped. According to rumors that reached Timber Creek, Vernon had tried to stir up trouble in Helena, claiming his rights had been violated. But the territorial judge, a man who'd seen too many women abused under the guise of family rights, had thrown the case out and suggested Vernon return to Kansas before he found himself on the wrong end of frontier justice. Vernon slunk back to Kansas with his tail between his legs. Eliza received word 6 months later that he'd died of a heart attack while trying to collect a debt from someone who didn't appreciate his methods. She felt nothing but relief. Meanwhile, Cole never stopped searching for his sister. He wrote letters, asked travelers if they'd seen her, checked every lead. Eliza helped, writing inquiries to towns throughout Oregon and Washington territories, to churches and schools and sheriffs. 3 years into their marriage, a letter finally came. The envelope was worn and stained, postmarked from a small logging town in Oregon. Cole's hand shook as he opened it. "Dear Cole," he read aloud, his voice catching. "If this letter finds you, it's a miracle. I'm alive. I'm safe. I have so much to tell you." His sister, Margaret, had run away from an abusive husband 5 years earlier. She'd made her way west, working as a seamstress, a cook, whatever she could find. In Oregon, she'd met a logger named Samuel, a widower with a kind heart and gentle hands. They'd married, and now she had 2 babies, a boy and a girl. "She wants to see me," Cole whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Eliza, she wants to see me." Eliza wrapped her arms around him as he wept with relief and joy. "Then we'll go to her, together." The journey west that summer was an adventure. They took the train as far as they could, then traveled by wagon through territory so beautiful it made Eliza's heart ache. Mountains pierced the sky, forests stretched endlessly, rivers ran clear and cold over smooth stones. They reached the logging town on a warm afternoon in July. Margaret was waiting on the porch of a small but well-maintained house, a baby on her hip and a toddler clinging to her skirts. The reunion was everything Eliza had hoped for. Cole swept his sister into his arms, both of them crying and laughing at once. Margaret's husband, Samuel, was a bear of a man with kind eyes and a booming laugh. He shook Cole's hand with genuine warmth and welcomed Eliza like she was already family. That evening, as they sat around the dinner table, sharing stories and laughter, Margaret reached across and took Eliza's hand. "I'm so glad he found you," she said quietly. "I can see it in his eyes. He's happy, truly happy, and that's all I ever wanted for him." "I'm the lucky one," Eliza replied. Margaret smiled. "Maybe you're both lucky. That's how it should be." They stayed for 2 weeks, getting to know Margaret's family, exploring the forests, fishing in the river. Cole and his sister spent hours catching up, filling in the years they'd lost. Eliza watched them together and felt a profound gratitude that they'd found each other again. On their last night, as the adults sat on the porch watching the children chase fireflies, Margaret turned to Cole. "I need to thank you." "For what?" "For never giving up on me, for searching all these years. It meant everything, knowing someone out there cared enough to keep looking." Cole's voice was rough with emotion. "You're my sister. I'll always look for you. And you have Eliza now to help you. She's good for you, Cole. She makes you softer in the right ways and stronger in others." The journey back to Montana felt different. They'd come seeking closure and found new beginnings. Cole was lighter somehow, as if finding Margaret had healed something broken in him. 5 years after that wedding in Timber Creek, the Double B Ranch had transformed. They'd added another barn with space for 20 horses. The cattle herd had grown to over 5,000 head, making them one of the most successful operations in the territory. They'd hired 10 additional hands, built a proper bunkhouse, and expanded the main house. But the biggest changes weren't in buildings or cattle. They were in the laughter that echoed through the house, in the small booths by the door, in the toys scattered across the porch. Eliza had learned to ride like she was born to it, sitting tall in the saddle as she helped move cattle or check fence lines. She could shoot better than half the men, a skill Cole had insisted she master. "Not because I want you in danger," he'd explained, "but because I want you able to protect yourself and our family if you need to." She kept the books with meticulous care, her mathematical mind spotting inefficiencies and opportunities that tripled their profits. She managed the household with quiet efficiency, earning the respect and loyalty of every person who worked for them. Their son, James, was 4 years old, with Cole's sage green eyes and his mother's quick mind. He was fascinated by everything: how things worked, why horses ran, where the stars went during the day. Cole spent hours answering his endless questions with patience Eliza found endlessly endearing. Their daughter, Sarah Margaret, named for the sister Cole had found and the woman who'd helped him see real love, was 2 years old and fearless. She followed her father everywhere, determination written in every line of her small body. She had Eliza's blue eyes and Cole's stubborn streak, a combination that promised interesting teenage years. One evening, as the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Cole found Eliza on the porch. The children were playing in the yard, James carefully building something with small stones, while Sarah tried to help and mostly got in the way. Cole sat beside his wife, taking her hand in his. The gesture was as natural as breathing now. These small touches that said, "I'm here, you're mine, we're us." "Do you ever regret it?" he asked quietly. "Staying, marrying me, this life?" Eliza turned to look at him fully. She saw the man who'd offered her work instead of charity, who'd seen her worth when she couldn't see it herself. The man who'd faced down a mob for her, who'd been patient with her fears, who'd built a life with her instead of for her. She saw the gray hairs just starting at his temples, the lines around his eyes from squinting in the sun, the scar through his eyebrow that gave him a dangerous look, contradicted by the gentleness in his gaze. She saw her husband, her partner, her love. Never, she said firmly, not once, not even on the hard days, the scary days, the days when everything seems to go wrong. This life we've built, it's everything I never knew I could have. Cole's smile was soft, relieved. He lifted her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles with the same reverent care he'd shown on their wedding day. Good, because you're stuck with me, Mrs. Brennan, till death do us part and probably beyond that, if I have any say in it. I can think of worse fates, Mr. Brennan. He laughed, that deep rumble she loved. Only worse fates? You wound me, woman. Fine, I can think of no better fate. Is that what you want to hear? It'll do. He pulled her close, kissing her temple. It'll do just fine. They sat together as the stars began to appear, two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their old lives and built something beautiful from the pieces. The prairie wind whispered through the grass, carrying the scent of sage and earth and possibility. In the yard, Sarah laughed, a sound of pure, uncomplicated joy. James was showing her how to stack the stones, his young voice patient as he explained the importance of a strong foundation. He's going to be a good man, Cole observed. Kind, like his mother. Strong, like his father, Eliza countered. Both, if we're lucky. We are lucky, Eliza said softly. We're so very lucky. She squeezed Cole's hand, and he squeezed back. A simple gesture, laden with everything they were together. Together, she said, the word that had become their promise, their prayer, their truth. Together, Cole agreed, his voice carrying every ounce of love he felt. And they were. Through seasons of plenty and seasons of hardship, through joy and sorrow, through the ordinary days and the extraordinary ones, they were together, and that made all the difference. The stars wheeled overhead, ancient and constant. The wind sang its eternal song. And on the porch of the Double B Ranch, two people who'd chosen each other sat hand in hand, watching their children play and their dreams take root in Montana soil. Life was good. Love was better. And together, they were unstoppable. The spring of their 6th year of marriage brought unexpected challenges. A late freeze killed half the spring calves, and a wildfire, driven by brutal winds, threatened the eastern pastures. Cole and the ranch hands fought the blaze for 3 days straight, digging fire breaks and beating back flames, until they were black with soot and exhausted beyond measure. Eliza organized the women from town, setting up a camp to feed the firefighters and tend minor burns and injuries. She worked alongside them without complaint, cooking vast quantities of food, carrying water, and keeping spirits up with her steady presence. When the fire was finally contained, Cole stumbled back to the house more dead than alive. Eliza stripped off his ruined clothes, bathed him gently, and doctored the burns on his arms and neck. She didn't cry, didn't lecture him about the risks he'd taken. She simply cared for him with steady hands and worried eyes. We lost the east pasture, he said hoarsely. Maybe 40 head of cattle could have been worse. It could have been you, Eliza replied, her voice tight. It almost was you, Cole. Tom said you went back into the flames to save old Moses. Moses was the ranch dog, a grizzled shepherd mix who'd been with them for years. Couldn't leave him, Cole said simply. Eliza pressed her forehead to his. You scared me. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just don't leave me. Don't you dare leave me, Cole Brennan. He pulled her close, ignoring his aching muscles and burned skin. I'm not going anywhere. We made a promise, remember? Together. Together, she whispered fiercely. They rebuilt. That's what they did. They rebuilt. New fences went up, new grass was planted, new calves were born the following year. The Double B Ranch survived because the people who ran it refused to quit. During this time, Eliza discovered she was pregnant again. The news came on a morning when Cole was inventorying the damaged equipment, trying to calculate repair costs. Worry etched into every line of his face. Cole, Eliza said softly, look at me. He did, and whatever he saw in her expression made him forget the ledger entirely. What is it? Are you all right? I'm pregnant. For a moment, he just stared at her. Then a smile broke across his face like sunrise. Really? Really? He whooped, sweeping her up and spinning her around before remembering himself and setting her down carefully. Are you happy? Do you want? I'm happy, she assured him, laughing. I'm so happy, Cole. He knelt down, pressing his face to her still flat stomach. Hello in there, little one. You picked a hell of a time to show up, but we're glad you're coming. So glad. Eliza ran her fingers through his hair, this strong man kneeling before her, and felt her heart swell with love so intense it was almost painful. Their third child, a boy they named Thomas, after the ranch hand who'd become like family, was born during a snowstorm in December. The doctor barely made it through the drifts, and Cole wore a path in the bedroom floor with his pacing. When Thomas finally arrived, red-faced and squalling, Cole cried openly. Another son, he whispered in wonder. Another blessing. Eliza was exhausted, but radiant. Our family keeps growing. Our blessing keeps growing, Cole corrected, kissing her forehead. Thank you. Thank you for all of it. By their 8th year of marriage, the Double B Ranch was the talk of Montana territory. Other ranchers came to see their operation, to learn their methods. Cole and Eliza shared freely, the techniques for winter feeding, the breeding programs, the careful bookkeeping that kept them profitable, even in hard years. But they were most proud of their reputation for fairness. They paid their hands well, treated them with respect, and several had saved enough to buy their own small spreads. Cole helped them get started, loaning equipment and giving advice freely. You're creating your own competition, one visiting rancher observed. Cole shrugged. I'm creating good neighbors. That's worth more than eliminating competition. One afternoon, a young woman appeared at the ranch, thin and scared, with bruises on her face and desperation in her eyes. She reminded Eliza painfully of herself 8 years earlier. Please, the girl said. I heard this is a place where women can be safe. I need work. I can cook, clean, anything. Just please. What's your name? Eliza asked gently. Anna Fletcher. Eliza looked at Cole, who was standing nearby. He nodded slightly. She turned back to Anna. Come inside. Anna, let's get you fed and cleaned up. Then we'll talk about what comes next. Anna started crying. Thank you. Thank you so much. As Eliza led the girl inside, Cole caught her hand. You're amazing, you know that? I remember being her, Eliza said quietly. How could I do anything else? Anna stayed. She worked hard, learned fast, and slowly began to smile again. 6 months later, she caught the eye of one of the ranch hands, a quiet, respectful young man named Peter. Cole gave them his blessing, and Eliza helped Anna make her wedding dress. At the wedding, Anna pulled Eliza aside. "You saved my life. You and Mr. Brennan. You showed me what good men and good women look like. How can I ever thank you?" "Pass it on," Eliza said simply. "When you see someone who needs help, you help them. That's all the thanks we need." The children grew. James developed a love for horses and spent hours in the barn, learning everything Cole could teach him. Sarah discovered she had her mother's head for numbers and started helping with the books when she was barely 7 years old. Thomas was still small, but he showed signs of his father's quiet strength and his mother's compassionate heart. One evening, when James was 9, he came to Cole with a troubled expression. "Pa, there's a boy at school, Billy Henderson. His father drinks, and sometimes Billy has bruises." Cole set down the harness he was mending. "Tell me more," James explained haltingly. Cole listened carefully, his jaw tight. When James finished, Cole pulled his son close. "You did right telling me. That took courage. Can we help him, like Ma helped Miss Anna?" Cole looked at Eliza, who'd been listening from the doorway. "What do you think, Ma?" "I think our son has a good heart," Eliza said. "And I think there's always room for one more at our table." The situation with Billy Henderson was delicate. Cole approached it carefully, talking to the boy's father with a combination of firmness and compassion that Eliza found masterful. In the end, Billy's father agreed to let the boy spend weeknights at the Double B, where he'd be safe and could help with chores to earn his keep. Billy flourished under the structure and kindness. He became like another son to Cole and Eliza, and a brother to their children. Years later, he would tell anyone who listened that the Brennans saved his life. As Eliza watched her expanded family around the dinner table one evening, her children, Billy, the ranch hands who'd become like brothers to Cole, Anna and Peter, who were expecting their first child, she was overwhelmed with gratitude. "What are you thinking about?" Cole asked later, as they prepared for bed. "I was thinking about that day in the pawn shop, when I was trying to sell my mother's ring because I had nothing left. I was so scared, so lost. I couldn't see past the next few days. And now? Now I can't see the end. Our life stretches out like the prairie, vast and full of possibility. We've built something, Cole. Not just a ranch, but a family. A real family." Cole pulled her close, resting his chin on top of her head. "We built it together. That's what makes it strong." "Together," she murmured. "Always together," he agreed. Outside, the Montana wind sang through the grass. The stars wheeled overhead in their ancient dance. And in the house that love built, two people who'd found each other against all odds held each other close, grateful for every moment, every challenge, every joy. Their story wasn't finished. There would be more hardships. There always were. More losses, more fears, more moments of doubt. But there would also be more joy, more laughter, more love than either of them had ever dreamed possible. They had started with nothing but hope and courage. They had built an empire of the heart, not measured in acres or cattle or gold, but in the lives they'd touched, the love they'd shared, the family they'd created. And through it all, they had each other, together, always together. That was enough. That was everything. Eliza squeezed Cole's hand one more time before sleep claimed them both. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you more," he murmured back. A familiar argument. "Impossible." "Want to bet?" She smiled in the darkness. "No, because we'd both win." His soft laughter was the last thing she heard before dreams took her. Dreams of tomorrow, dreams of their children grown and happy, dreams of growing old beside this man who'd given her everything by giving her choice. Together, they dreamed of forever, and forever started now. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Cole and Eliza's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.